Hello everybody, welcome. My name's Richard. I hope you're all very well. This video is about this BMW i4 M50, which we've had here on fleet for 3 months now. So in this video, I'm going to give you a bit of my wrap up and summary of the i4 M50. I did some videos before, but I had a press car for a couple of days, but actually had this one for 3 months. So what do I think about it now? Have my opinions changed? Is the i4 M50 a good car? It's sitting here nestled amongst a load of Teslas, so obviously I'm very used to Teslas as well, and many other electric cars. So does the BMW i4 M50 really cut it? Before we get into it, let's just cover a little bit about what this car actually is and the specification of it. It's basically a very high-spec i4 M50 here from the UK, with most of the options and accessories ticked, basically. It's got almost everything except for the sunroof. I'm not a fan of sunroofs much myself. People always mention about these looks. There's a divided opinion. It's a Marmite car, isn't it? One of the reasons I chose black for this car was because I wasn't a big fan of the grille. So let's get this topic out of the way now about the looks of it. Black kind of hides this, and I've got the darker line here around the grille surround as well. I've seen some people actually probably body color code that, which wouldn't be a bad thing to do. The looks have grown on me. I actually rather like it. I like the fact that it is a little bit kind of Marmite. Some people aren't so keen, but I actually will admit now the looks have grown on me. I don't find it offensive, and in fact, I find it a pretty good-looking car now. So, yeah, with a bit of time, that's what it's done to me. I do like the look of it. These laser headlights are no doubt amongst the best in class. Obviously, good LED headlights, but then with a laser function that really gives a distance projection as well. So, this, you know, you can looking around here. There's a load of Teslas. Tesla needs to up their game, because cars like this and many other cars now, Polestars, Audis, the headlights put Tesla to shame. Tesla needs to wake up and listen to this. The fit and finish from new was very, very good. The build quality, the panel gaps, the paint quality finish, the sound of the door closure, solid. Everything is very solid and well made. I'll come on to the interior in a minute, but basically I couldn't fault it from new. Very well built car. You can tell that BMW have been doing this for a long time. I am historically quite a BMW fan, and I've had a string of BMW M cars in the past. So I think one of the initial kind of expectations of this car, certainly when I had that press car, was that I wanted it to be a kind of electric BMW M3. It's kind of just the expectation, and BMW do kind of market it as the first M BMW that's electric. But it's a kind of M performance car, of course. It's like an M550i. It's not quite an M5. What you do get, though, that it's not a kind of M car feeling. One is it's a very heavy car, so this weighs 2.5 tons. You're never going to get that lightweight, agile handling of a BMW M3, M4 type of vehicle. So it's not that. And it also isn't a very rear-wheel drive bias. This is a four-wheel drive car, motor front, motor rear. But when you really put your foot down, it feels more front-wheel drive bias. So it doesn't have that kind of leery, oversteery feel at all. You can actually get traction off, and you can kind of spin it around if you really try. But primarily, it does feel like a very quick car. When you start reaching the edges, it's more of a front-wheel drive. In fact, you can even get a little bit of torque steer on it, but it certainly has a drama and a character to its performance that, again, you just don't get with something like a BMW M3. It's about the same kind of 0 to 60 time. We've done some tests side by side, and you'll see these two cars are very, very similar, up to kind of 60, 70 miles an hour. But you can feel beyond that this car would be an Autobahn Stormer. It then would carry on accelerating faster. So certainly at higher speeds that we can't achieve here in the UK legally. This is actually a quicker car than the Tesla Model 3 Performance. But away from the line, the Tesla Model 3 Performance that I'm referring to in this case is a cleaner launch. The traction control is better managed. This can kind of scrabble, make a lot more drama out of it, which in a way is kind of good fun. But you'll see another video where we did some runs down the side here next to the Tesla Model 3 Performance. So this makes a right drama out of it, whereas the Tesla just kind of picks up its skirt and goes. So not as efficient in that sense, but with a bit more character. So one of the downsides, I think, of this car is that you've got this huge long bonnet, but there's nothing you can use under here. There's a big plastic cover with some pipes and some motor and stuff under there, but for a car this size, with a big long bonnet like this, you'd expect a little bit of under bonnet storage, which proves itself very useful. Again, in the Teslas, a bit of storage on the front is an extra useful bit of storage. You might keep some of the charging cables and accessories in there, but you literally cannot get a single thing under here. So I'm going to count that as a negative. So let's talk about the wheels. This is the biggest wheel size available in the UK here. It's a 20-inch. And even with these big wheels and these fairly low profile tyres, the ride comfort is very good. It's very refined, it's very comfortable to spend long days in the motorway in this car. But the big wheels have a big impact on range. So now that we've seen lots of cars and lots of feedback and different versions and different models on the road, if you have the 18 or 19-inch wheels, you will get a bigger range with this car. So with these bigger wheels, realistic range 220, I mean up to about 250 miles is possible if you're really gentle and the weather's warmer. Down in winter, you could be down to 200 miles if you're driving a bit more enthusiastically, or possibly even below 200 miles. But the feedback I'm seeing is if you have the 18 or 19-inch, range is extended quite a lot, more like up to about 300 miles. So it depends how much you want to prioritise the looks of the bigger wheels, and if you want these bigger brakes, and you have to have these bigger wheels apparently, if you want to prioritise that over its long distance range. If you're doing long distances, in reality, I'd recommend the smaller wheels. So as we come down the side towards the back here, I really like this angle of the car. I think it looks nice and sleek. The LED lights are nice. We've got the carbon pack, gives you this carbon panel here and the carbon spoiler. These bigger wheels also do give you these wheel arch extensions on the back, so you don't get them with the smaller wheels. So I think that helps with the kind of aggressive look of it, as if it wasn't aggressive enough already. I do love the fact that we've got a car here that has a hatchback. In the UK, we all have our hatchbacks. And this is a pretty good practical boot space. So you can get in things about this long into the boot space there quite happily and easily. It's practical. Its capacity, we did another video on this, is actually about the same as a Tesla Model 3 boot space, but being a hatchback opening, it's more practical. And I like the way the parcel shelf lifts up with this. You just got nice, good access. Storage under here, not really. There's a subwoofer for the Harman Kardon sound system in here. And then there's just a little bit of space on the side for a few cables and bits and pieces. Of course, a little party trick I love with this car, and I haven't actually used it, but we've got a little button inside here, which is for an electrically deployable tow bar. And by the way, that sits next to a nice handy little shopping bag hook there. So if you've got a takeaway or some shopping, it stops it falling over. But a fully deployable electric tow bar. And I think that's very good, very handy to have. So this car has coil suspension at the front, but air suspension at the back. So even if you put a bike rack or a trailer on here with a little bit of weight, it will self-level. So that's good. And then I can just push the button again and it folds away. How good is that? Three-way split folding rear seats are very convenient, and then you get a nice big long flat load area. I like the puddle lighting. Slam, solid, good door closure. So when you get to the inside, it's very nice, it's lovely. There's just a sort of sense of quality and the feeling, it's just well trimmed. I've got the carbon pack on the inside here as well, so that ties through. Steering wheel's great quality, nice leather steering wheel there. And it's all well made, some lovely ambient lighting, a little bit of different textures, materials. So you've got that carbon, the aluminium, and then some leather trimmings. There's not too much hard plastics to be found. There's a sort of rubbery section here, and this is rubbery here. So there's not too much hard plastic other than the stalks here and the window switches. So it's a very nice place to be. We've got this big wide screen here, which is nice. Although when you kind of look at the back of it, you can see that normally for just a 4 Series Grand Coupe, you'd have a sort of binnacle here with some dials, but nonetheless from here you can't really see that. It's a nice big wide display, and this one has head up, which is lovely. You can see this nice little feature. So this is flashing red because I didn't quite close my door properly. Now it's blue. So I mentioned before about how I don't like this arrangement in the front here, that you've got cup holders and then your phone charger behind that. In real life, living with the car for a couple of months, my opinion hasn't changed. It is still basically a bit annoying. If you've got a cup here, it's really awkward to get your phone out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that could be better. Tesla Model 3, 2 wireless chargers in front of you right there is a much better arrangement to have. So the interface in here is okay. It can be kind of a little bit laggy at times, but it's not too bad. The native navigation is pretty poor graphics, I think. And as again, I've covered in a couple of videos before, when you do a long journey, it's kind of route planning for charging and just kind of showing you where the chargers are. I think could be better and clearer. In something like a Tesla, it gives you real confidence, inspiring overview of the route when you begin and where it suggests charging clearly on the map, and it doesn't really do that kind of thing that well. And this native navigation, you can see the graphics are a little bit out of date in my opinion. However, one thing you do get with this is wireless Apple CarPlay, of course, which then is very good. And if I use something like Apple Maps and I navigate somewhere, navigate to work, obviously that works well on the screen here, but it also works on the screen here as well. And it will also show those directions on the head-up display, and a lot of cars just don't do that. If you use Apple CarPlay instead of the native nav, it doesn't take over the screen display here or the head-up display, so that's good. Apple CarPlay integration is excellent, and I also like the way the iDrive still works for this. I actually like having the iDrive so that you don't have to prod the screen all the time when you're driving. You can use this to easily navigate around different modules in the car, and I think that's good. So that, excellent. Points for that. This has got a system a bit like a Tesla autopilot, radar cruise, lane keep assist, and I found that to be very good actually. No problems with that. I found that was working perfectly well here in the UK. I had no incidences of kind of phantom braking or anything like that. So again, points for that. It was very good. So this car's got a self-parking ability as well. So see how I have a video about self-parking cars. You'll see that the BMW does very well. It actually quite significantly did better than Tesla in that regard. So if self-parking is useful to you, the BMW does it very well. I will often comment on air vents. Gint says I'm going to be known as Air Vent Richard. But in the BMW, you just got manual air vent adjustment, which is just easy, isn't it? Just have manual air vent adjustment like that. It's nice and easy to direct the flow or close that one off a little bit or entirely. So for me, that's points for the BMW. What do you think of this seat trimming here? This kind of bold red and black. It's called Fiona something individual. These are not the M Sport seats, these are the regular seats. Because I heard in some of the early reviews that these are more comfortable, and I'd always go for the comfort. I still find they've got lots of side support, and these are actually got the adjustable side bolsters here, so I can squeeze them in or I can relax them out, which is fantastic. And also these seats come with these adjustable headrests, so I can pull the headrest nicely forward and get good head support here. So I went for these seats and they are excellent. They're very, very comfortable and supportive with loads of adjustment, and these are great for spending a long day in, no problem at all. It's one of the best seats in the business, I think. And really well finished. Look at the stitching and everything like that, it's lovely. Okay, so Tesla Model 3, you can have your phone as the key. You don't even need a key or key card. As you walk up to the car, it unlocks and you get in it and you just press the brake and it starts and goes. You can have phone as a key with the BMW, but you have to kind of wave your phone around in here and then it uses your pass key to go in. And then when you get in the car, you have to put your phone in the phone holder, so you have to get it past all those, any cups or anything you've left in there. Obviously you have to tidy your car every time with this, and that's now allowed the car to start, and then I push the start button to start it. So it's pretty good, but I'd kind of like it to be just with your phone in your pocket, so you haven't got to get it out and all that kind of stuff. So with my phone in the pocket, and I go to the car in the Tesla and it just opens. That's how simple it should be. So the BMW app's okay, it actually connects fairly quickly on most occasions, so I've not found it too bad like that. Now this one does have the remote camera option, so again this is something that we get in the latest Teslas, where you can view all the cameras from around the car remotely from your phone. So let me do that on there, and I'll show you. It's not quite as slick as a Tesla, unfortunately. So this is from the last time I used it, when I was in Legoland car park, actually. That's what St Leonard's Road in Windsor is. God, that's an expensive day out. So it's updated the view now. So there we go. Now it's updated the view, and I can look around here. This is the remote camera view. So yeah, you can sort of...
You can see under the floor as well.
Yeah, you can see under the floor. Yeah, so sort of, you can see a remote camera view, but you can see it's a distorted, compilation of still pictures. Whereas in a Tesla, it's actually a live camera view, and you can choose different cameras from around the car live. So I quite like the looks. I like the way it drives. It's got some really nice quality details about it, and the spec on this one's pretty good. In most regards, it's a very excellent car. So am I going to keep this car after 3 months? Well, no, I'm not going to keep it. And I'll explain why. There's a couple of reasons for this. So one is I found myself in the summer having to do some very long journeys. So I found myself jumping in a Tesla most time just because the route planning, the ease of charging is just that bit simpler and the range is that bit longer and the efficiency is that bit better. So I don't want to keep comparing to a Tesla. Luckily enough, I've got the choice to go to one to another. I do get entirely why people would have this or a Tesla, so I'm not bad-mouthing either at all. But I found myself in the summer covering nearly 5,000 miles. And I did that in a Tesla Model S because it's got the range and also a bit more space. So let me show you in the back. And so this is one of the reasons. There just wasn't quite enough space for my needs, which is usually me and then me, my wife and my daughter. So my daughter's fine in the back. She's very comfortable. But we then quite often carry one or two extra people. And by the time you do that, it's just a bit tight and squeezy in the back here. One, you've got this sort of central transmission tunnel here. And this is a seat in my position. So I'm just about in and I'm okay. But you can't really get 3 people across here very easily at all. And we also had an occasion where we had a friend who had a toddler with a booster seat, and we just couldn't get the booster seat in this car. So the booster seat had a fairly wide base to this particular one, and we just couldn't get the seat belt right round and then plugged in. The plug was underneath the seat base still because this cushion in here was pushing the whole seat base over. So I would say for some car booster seats, I think child seats with the ISOFIX would be fine, but for some car booster seats, it's a bit hard to make them fit. So it was just a bit compromised in the back here. And in terms of luggage and storage space, the boot is okay, but it's not that big, and with no extra front space. Again, we just found there wasn't as much space as we needed, and hence I was jumping in the Tesla, unfortunately. And I've got a little niggle here, which you don't realise initially, but when I spend like 8 hours a day in the car, I do some big days driving, and this bugged me. Now, this wouldn't affect left-hand drive cars, I don't think, and it wouldn't affect all drivers at all, but I was just finding the pedal space here a bit small. Now, because this car has quite a big transmission tunnel, even though there's no transmission in this one, it compromises the pedal space here. So my left leg and left foot isn't sort of quite straight. I want to be able to move it just, an inch or two slightly more to the left, but I can't. It's a little bit cramped. So seen like this, it doesn't look like any issue at all, but I was just finding after a few hours a day in the car, I was just a little bit compromised on my left foot space in the car. So could well be me. I wouldn't let it put people off. Again, I'm fairly exceptional in the amount of time I'll spend driving. And if it's a left-hand drive, probably not an issue. But for me, in this car, it just became almost claustrophobic feeling there. So sort of a little thing, but a big thing. And that really is one of the main things that for me, unfortunately, means I don't feel the need to keep this car, much as I do like many qualities about it. So this one includes a Harman Kardon sound system, and this seems to divide opinions again. Some people rave about the quality. I didn't think it was that good. I think the Harman Kardon sound system in electric Mini Level 3 I drove straight after driving this was better. Somehow just better sound quality to me and my preferences. And I do know people that have got these, even with the Harman Kardon system, doing various sound upgrades and speaker upgrades. So it does seem to be an opinion shared with some, others as well. The Harman Kardon, it's okay, it's pretty good, probably fine for most people, but actually not as good as I thought it would be. Okay, so let's wrap this one up a little bit for me. I know I've given it a bit of a grin, I've picked it apart in a few places, but I've got to be, honest and real, and like I said, they're just my opinions. So it's not quite right for me, mainly that it's just not quite spacious enough, to be honest. It just didn't quite have the practicality I need, and I found myself too often jumping in other cars. I'm lucky enough and privileged enough to have that position. So not for me. It will be off to find a new home, but I'll be a bit sad to see it go as well, because it's been a really good car to own, to have, to experience. And if you've got one coming, be excited, because it is an epic car. If you're coming from something like a Tesla Model 3, you will find this is a level of comfort and refinement which you're going to really enjoy compared to those. It's excellent. And in fact, I often refer to this, comparing it to things like the Audi E-tron GT and the Porsche Taycan, because even this one, highly specified, doesn't come cheap, but it's got loads of stuff on it. So then go to something like a base E-tron GT or a base Taycan. This has got way more spec and actually has a better quality feel about it as well. So something like the base E-tron GT I had here recently had quite a lot of kind of hard plastics on the dashboard. It felt like the base model, whereas this, for less money, feels like a top spec with all the toys. So It doesn't come cheap, but it, you know, in this spec especially, I think it's actually reasonable value for money. So, not quite for me, off to find a new home, but it's an excellent car, I will say that, and I think if you've got one coming, you will really enjoy it. I've seen loads of owners getting these cars over the past few months and all raving about them, all loving it. I've seen very few people being disappointed by getting one of these and having it on a driveway and even using it for high mileages. So, yeah, I think well done BMW, a good car. I've yet to drive the i4 40e, the rear wheel drive. I'm hearing really good things about that, and I've got something in the pipeline, hopefully comes through to get my hands on one of those. So maybe some more coming soon with a base model rear wheel drive compared to this one. That'll be interesting to do. So stay subscribed, hit the bell icon for notifications, and you may see something coming on that very soon. But for me, for now, on this car, it's goodbye from me, goodbye from the BMW, and we'll see you on another video very soon. Thank you for watching. Hey everyone, thanks for watching our videos. If you like our content and want to see more, don't forget to not only subscribe, but also hit the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss any new videos as they're uploaded. Plus, we're also on Instagram. Just look up R Simons or RSEV. We're on Facebook and Twitter. So lots of news, stories and things as we go on each one of those channels.